So now we've spoken about money. Let's talk about sex.
Let's dance, baby.
Okay. Okay, so let's clear this out. Let's clear this out for a little bit. I'm really interested in your perspective on this. Now, how long? Now, there's this whole kind of thing of the longer he waits, the more likely you're going to get commitment. The longer he waits for that good loving, the more likely he's going to get commitment. True or false, Kit?
There is a correlation, but it is not a causation.
Oh, see, I told you smart.
So there is a correlation between how quickly you share yourself with him to his level of respect for you that he would consider you for commitment.
Right.
But just because you make him wait does not mean he will commit to you, no.
Okay, that's just too clever. You slow this down. Talk about the correlation. What goes on in a man's mind? Okay, so how long would a woman have to wait in general to correlate the sense of value? Because is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Or virtue?
Virtue. So one of the first things that a man is looking for, and I give the male perspective, I'm just going to say how it is.
Of course.
Men want to choose a woman, at least to him, is sexually selective. That is an attractive quality in a partner.
Right.
Because to men, sex and intimacy is the prize with a woman. And he wants to have a prize that ideally no one else has had or no one else can get easily, right? The more valuable the prize is, the harder it is to get. So that's why there's a correlation. But in terms of when is the right time to sleep with a man,
right?
I know people like to say this 3-date rule, 3-week rule, 3-month rule. The reason I don't think that's helpful is because if you say, for example, the 3-date rule, you can have 3 dates that, let's say, last 2 hours each. That's 6 hours. But then you can have a first date where you end up spending the whole day together. That's 6 hours as well. You spent the same amount of time.
Interesting. In
just a different way. So what I often say to women I work with is, ask yourself, would I introduce this man to my friends?
Right.
Would I bring him as a +1? So if your girlfriends were having a party that weekend, would you bring him as your +1? Because anytime we bring someone as our +1 to an event or to a party with other people that we know, they are an ambassador for us.
Right. Love
right?
that.
They represent us to everybody. Because if you have a party this weekend, Chengi, and you bring, one of your friends, right? And then that friend is being drunk, obnoxious, trashing the place. Everyone's like, whose friend is that?
Right.
Oh, that's Chengi's friend. That reflects bad on you. And so we wouldn't bring anyone naturally to an event with us where they're going to represent us until we know that this is a good person to be our ambassador.
Right.
Which means we would have had to have gotten to know them to a certain degree that we have a level of trust for them to handle our reputation. Right? If you don't know this man well enough, whether he would be a good ambassador for you around your friends, it's too soon to sleep with him. And that could be because you may have one date, because sometimes people have relationships or they meet men or women in a different country. So you might be talking for 2 hours on Skype a day, but you've only had one technical date in 2 months. And maybe that was like a weekend in Paris, or maybe, he flew over for a couple of nights or something. But there's a level of rapport and trust that's already being built, an emotional connection that's being built. So that's why I say, ask yourself the question, would I introduce this man to my friends? Is he a good ambassador for me? And if the answer is yes, I think I know him well enough and trust him well enough that he would handle my reputation well, do your thing.
Okay, thank you. Now, that's from the perspective of the woman. So this is great advice for us girls.
Yes.
And for those of you who are waiting till marriage, we're not talking to you. We're talking about everybody else. Don't be putting in the comments, but what if you wait? We're not talking about you because you're waiting, baby. Okay, just wait till he puts that ring on your finger, if that's your thing, okay? So for every other girl, that's fine. So I've made that assessment. How do I know it's fine for me? So for instance, we spend the whole day together and I've made that assessment and I think, I've learned so much about you and I feel good. And it's nighttime. We've been talking since morning. We met for a coffee date in the morning and now we've had lunch and dinner and it's been 8 hours. I don't know how many hours we've been together.
Yes.
And it's nighttime and you walk me to my house and I'm thinking, I think I know you. I feel like I could introduce you to my friends, my family, my world. How is he going to think that was too soon? That was just a day, girl.
Is this the first date?
Yeah, it's our first date, but we've done the hours. So I might
Yes.
make an assessment and think, okay, I think I can answer that question. I've spent enough time with this man. We've had this amazing magical moment where everybody's been vulnerable. I mean, it could be a liar, but that's a really good liar for a whole day.
Yeah, very true.
And he can,
very true.
pathological lie can keep it up for 9 months. So, assuming he's a general kind of guy. Now, my concern, what I'm kind of thinking about here is I might have made that assessment of you and your character, but what if you ghost me the next day because you thought that was too soon? So from a man's mind, would he think she's cheap? I've made a different assessment, but what is the guy thinking?
Yeah. If they've spent the whole day together and he is connecting with her emotionally, and I think generally women are more emotionally adept than men, so they can tell genuinely better whether there's a genuine emotional connection or whether a guy is just in it for the fun. Would he think that's too quick? I would say if the first date is the first time you're meeting, then yes, he would. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Because you can have an emotional connection,
Right.
and the emotional connection can be there,
Yeah.
but he still wants to know that you're sexually selective.
Right. So expand this for me a little bit more, because I know you gave me a really good starting point.
Yes.
I believe the kind of, would this person be worthy of my world? But now we're talking about the nitty gritty. It's the first date. I've decided you're good for my world. Maybe because I'm delusional. I just want you to be good for my world.
Sure.
Or maybe you genuinely are. But you're now telling me, well, he would still think that's too soon. So how many dates really? I mean, I know it's not dates.
Sure.
But you know what I mean? Like,
I get
at
you.
what point is it too soon?
Okay.
And at what point can we play with it? You know? Do you know what I'm saying? At what point can it be a bit more subjective?
I get that. One thing I say to the women I work with is use what I call sexual progression. So if level 10 is foregoing, that's sex, everything, start from level 1. So still maintain that emotional connection, but level 1, maybe the first date you share a kiss. Maybe the second date is kiss, bit more passionate with hands, etc. Maybe the third date, maybe it's he cooks you dinner and stuff. If you stay over, maybe you do stuff, but you don't go all the way. Sexual progression is really good in terms of getting a man to continue to reinvest, because if we think of it like a video game, if I'm playing Super Mario and I want to get to level 10 and I'm getting through level 1, level 2, level 3, I'm not stopping now.
Right.
I'm going to continue because I can see the progression that I'm getting to where I want to go.
Right.
I think the danger, what can happen is if you have sex on the first date and I bought the game today and I beat level 10, it's like, oh, that was an easy game. I may have had a really good time, but that was an easy game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like, did I get, quote unquote, my money's worth? I spent £50 on a game that I completed in the first 10 hours that I played it. But if there's a level of progression, and the thing is, during that progression, you're going to see his investment in you go up because he's getting excited at the progression.
Right.
And then what will happen is, once you've done it that way, and all the time that he's been investing, whether he realizes or not, he's been building this emotional intimacy and connection with you. So by the time that you do have sex and he has the quote unquote post-nut clarity, and if you don't know what that is, we can talk about that.
Please tell everyone. I know what it is, but I know the girls want to know. Let's hear it from the kid.
So post-nut clarity is when a guy essentially, I call them lust goggles. So when you have like beer goggles on, right? You have beer goggles on one night, and maybe you sleep with someone that night. You wake up the following morning when you're sober. The beer goggles come off, and you go, "Oh wow, I probably wouldn't have gone home with you if I didn't have these beer goggles on." Before a guy has sex with a woman, he has lust goggles.
Right.
And this is something guys need to get better at telling about themselves, but a lot of the time he can have a level of investment because he thinks he likes her, but actually he's just really attracted to her. Once a man has sex with her, the lust goggles come off, and he then realizes, do I like her, or was I just attracted to her? So when you've had that progression and the lust goggles come off and he has that subconscious internal dialogue, do I like her, or was I just attracted to her? He'll be like, wow, no, I really like her because you've done this work, right? So this is why, and I think the other danger, the other extreme is when a woman's like, we're not going to do anything for like 2-3 months.
I was going to ask you that as well.
We're not going to do anything for 2-3 months.
Yes, dry.
Right.
No progression.
No progression. And I understand the sentiment behind
Yeah.
it, but that means he's going to be stuck at level 1. If I get a new Mario game and I'm stuck at level 1 for a week, I'm going to stop playing. Like, either I'm not good enough to get through the levels, or the game's too hard. Like, this game was just not made for me, right? I don't have the things that the game needs to progress.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and because because women show their investment through their sexual intimacy, and men show their investment through their emotional intimacy.
Right.
If a woman's not showing that side of the investment, a guy might just think, okay, cool, she's actually not into me. Which, I'll be honest, I've stopped seeing women before because there was no level of progression. And I was like, okay, cool. You're not as attracted to me as it needs to be for this to work, which is okay,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
not going to continue
Right.
to indulge in this anymore.
Absolutely.
So that's what I would say.
I love that. I love that you just gave me two things. Investment going up. I think that women sometimes don't know what's too much, and I think it goes both ways. You know, I think we're all trying to read each other from like a whole different place. But I think what women can really take away from, you know, that little bit of what you said, which is really, really powerful, is when you give that sexual progression, it should be matched with emotional investment.
100%.
Right? Because I think that's the only way you can tell this is a safe space for me to continue to give a little bit of myself. And I say to my clients and to my followers, many of which are very, some of which are waiting for marriage, right? I say to them, even though that is the case, he still wants to know that you're sexually attracted to him. He really needs to know that.
Yes.
He needs to know that the only reason you are not jumping into bed with him is not because you don't find him attractive, but because it's for your own reasons, your own virtues, your own religious beliefs, or whatever.
Yes.
And I find a lot of men, a lot of my clients who meet these men, they're quite happy to wait till marriage, but they need to feel your desire for them.
Yes.
And that's where that sexual progression comes.
Yes.
But then, you know, some people then don't know how to manage themselves in, in that situation. However, I think that's really powerful. But, you know, as you're sexually progressing, you also have to observe, is there more investment? Because sometimes you sexually progress and the investment goes downhill because it's like, you know, if you didn't come to stay anyway, you're going to see an investment issue, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other point has just left my head, but we're going to move on because it's time to move on. And if it comes back, I'll remember it.
Yeah.